Hi there and welcome. We are representatives from the Iowa Society of CPAs, and we're excited to present to you a short panel discussion today with a variety of members from across our state. All members are either certified public accountants, CPAs, or they are in the process of earning their CPA. The goal for our conversation today is to kind of give you some history and some background as to how and why these individuals chose to be an accountants and what their current goals and career objectives are. So let's get started. Thanks for being here. Okay, first and foremost, please introduce yourself. Be sure to include your title, where you work, and another short piece of important information about yourself.
All right, well, I'm Sachin Gupta. I work for Ernst & Young. I'm a senior there in the assurance practice, which is the audit practice of our firm. Currently out of the Des Moines office, but currently working from home as well in Johnston, Iowa.
Working from home because of COVID, correct?
Yep.
All right, thank you very much for being here.
Hi, my name is Amina Nuhanovic, and I'm currently at Wright Service Corp out of West Des Moines, Iowa. And I'm currently an internal controls, internal audit manager.
Very good. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sarah Anderson. I am a senior accountant at Williams & Company, which is a small public accounting firm. I work from the Spencer office, but I work remotely from Ankeny, and I was the first remote employee after getting married last summer, went full-time remote. And then one fun fact is I love to travel.
Nice. Perfect. Thank you for being here.
I'm Jose Garcia, senior manager on the assurance side for McGowan, Hurst, Clark & Smith. Basically work on audits, reviews, and compilations. We're located over in West Des Moines by the Hy-Vee and Farm Bureau corporate centers.
Perfect. Thank you. So correct me if I'm wrong. We have 3 representatives from public accounting and 1 from industry. Is that correct?
I think
Can you raise your hand if you're a CPA? Can you raise your hand if you're going to be a CPA soon? Yay!
There we go.
I love it. And just a brief introduction. My name is Jenny McGarry. I'm an assistant accounting professor at Western Illinois in the Quad Cities. Okay. Again, we're just going to read the questions and I'm going to give you a brief amount of time to provide an answer. Think back to when you were in high school. What was your dream job? And did you always know that you wanted to be an accountant?
So I can kind of kick us off here. So in high school, I actually wanted to be a doctor. My family grew up very split with business and medicine. So I was like, oh, I'm going to follow what my dad's doing, like become a doctor. So I took a lot of biology classes in high school and like started to go down through DMAC, which was college courses you could take in high school. And I was like, this is not going to work for me. It's like, I can't do this. So I actually started taking 2 of the accounting classes through DMAC while I was still in high school. I was like, oh, this is pretty interesting. I think this is something I could see myself doing. And the professor there was super helpful, very helped me connect with like understanding what public accounting, like different accounting opportunities could look like. So that was kind of the ultimate path I ended up picking.
That's great. So I imagine since you said DMAC, you're from the Des Moines area originally?
I am. Yep. I went to high school
Okay.
at Johnston, Iowa. Yep.
Perfect. So DMAC is the area community college there. I'm way out in Eastern Iowa. That's why I just wanted to clarify that just a little bit. Perfect. Thank you. Amina?
Okay, so you want me the same question?
Yes.
Okay. No, I did not always think or knew that I was going to be an accountant because I didn't even actually think about it. I was going to be in law enforcement and a flight attendant, actually. It wasn't until later when I started kind of towards the end of high school and beginning of college because my advisor was a CPA and she kind of pushed me that way.
Okay.
And I was always very detail oriented. So when I started taking accounting classes, I actually liked it because everything balanced and worked out itself, the numbers. So yeah, so it wasn't even close to being an accountant, but then I ended up liking it once I started taking classes and kind of got into the profession.
You bring up a good point with law enforcement. Do you see any overlap between your interest in law enforcement and what you currently do in your position in internal audit?
Yeah, so one of the questions I think that's going to be asked later is like for one of my companies I worked before in sustainability, we had some IRS agents come in because they were auditing one of our clients, and there were CPAs working as like federal agents.
Very nice.
For
Yes,
IRS.
we will be able to talk about that in a little bit. Thank you. I love it. Sarah, same question. Dream job when you were in high school, and did you always know that you're going to be an accountant?
I had no idea what I wanted to do when I was in high school. I toyed with the idea of being a teacher because I liked helping my younger siblings. And then I thought about interior design after redoing my bedroom for my 15th birthday and thinking it just turned out amazing. Thought about pharmacists because I was good at math, but really ended up in accounting after my junior and senior year, had some classes in accounting and business and just figured out I was good at it and I liked it and decided to head that route.
Perfect. Thanks. Jose, I think you know the question by now, right?
Yeah, I got the question. And you know, thinking back in high school, middle school years, I would probably say that my dream job was to do something hands-on, never thinking that I was going to do accounting. But then Shark Tank started coming around then, and I got into the finance and looking into everything that they do. And then I started taking courses right out as a freshman in high school. And I actually started liking them. Back then it was just computer courses and such, and then learning of the accounting business environment. And I realized that I found an interest towards that. Ended up going into it, just thinking I was going to be a finance major at some point or do something with it. And then here we are. So
I like your reference to Shark Tank because you can really get a good idea of what our industry is like by watching those questions as they're making their investment decision. I think that's a great example. So I like your reference there. Briefly tell us about your path to your current position, including where you went to high school. And I know that some of you have already shared that, and college. So Sasha, you've talked about that to a certain extent, but how have you, after DMACC, how have you gotten to where you are?
Yeah, so actually, to back up one more step, I played golf in high school, and that was a big passion of mine. So I wanted to keep playing in college. Nice, I like it. So yeah, I wanted to keep playing in college, and Grandview University is a smaller NAIA school in Des Moines. Offered me a scholarship to come and play there, and they also had a 4-year accounting program that allowed me to get the 150 credit hours done within the 4 years. So that was just a very attractive opportunity for me to want to pursue that versus, some of the other universities where you need to take 5 years in order to get that 150 credit hour line. So I ended up going to Grandview University, graduated there in 4 years with the degrees in accounting and finance. And then my sophomore year, my parents were really good friends with one of the partners in the Des Moines office for Ernst & Young. And his son and my son my brother played on the same baseball team growing up. So he was like, you should come and talk to me. Well, let's explain a little bit about what we do. So that was kind of my foot in the door with Ernst & Young, and just kind of one thing led to another through the interview process. And yeah, I started with the firm October 2019 as a staff 1 in the assurance practice.
2019, you said?
Yep.
Oh, perfect timing. Right before March of 2020.
Exactly.
When the world changed a little bit. I love your reference to networking. I mean, that is the true definition of networking, and making sure that you use your resources, whether they're parents, friends, family, neighbors, take advantage of all those opportunities to learn a little bit more about a variety of careers. I am just going to briefly talk about one thing that you mentioned regarding the 150, because I'm not sure if everybody knows. You can get an accounting degree, and typically that's 120 hours. With an accounting degree, you can be an accountant. But the common tie that we all have is we're all certified public accountants. Which is a certification that kind of sets you above and beyond, provides you some extra opportunities in the profession. In order to become a certified public accountant, you do have to have 150 hours of college credit. So as Sasha was referencing 150, that's what he was talking about. In order to, again, be a CPA, which again, we are all CPAs, and I think every single one of us would recommend that career path, you do have to have 150 hours of college credit. So that's great. Thank you very much. Amina?
Okay, well, to that point, I went to Grandview as well. And
Oh.
I did the 150 in 4 years because I didn't want to, God forbid, go another semester of college. So I took like 21 credits, I think, my last semester and
Oh,
got
geez.
really, really burned out. But to that point, I went to Hoover High School, which is Des Moines Public Schools. And I actually started as a sociology major at Grandview, and then I took business on top of that. And like I mentioned earlier, my advisor was a CPA, and then she kind of started having a conversation. You should just take these and these and these accounting classes, and you can just, become an accounting major along with business and sociology. And that's exactly what I did. And of course, towards the end of my college career, I decided to do the 150 credits so I can sit for the CPA exam.
Perfect. Sounds like she provided you fantastic advice.
It looks like it.
It looks like it. Absolutely. Sarah?
I graduated high school from Galen Catholic in Lamars, Iowa, and then went on to Buena Vista University in Storm Lake, where I majored in business, accounting, and human resources. And then while I was at Buena Vista, I did several different internships. And one of those internships was with my current employer, Williams and Company. And I interned with them during a tax season, decided I really liked it. They gave me an offer, and now I've been with them 3 years.
Great. That's a great story as well. Jose?
I'm gonna actually connect some dots there. So she said she went to Buena Vista. I actually used to do the audit of Buena Vista
Oh,
back over where I
very
used to
cool.
work at. So I love that campus, by the way, right by the lake.
Yes.
But my career path. So I went to high school in Minnesota, Winona specifically, and then I actually took a little bit. I did not do the 150 in 4 years. I did it in 5. I took my time there, and then afterwards, I went and took a job in Missouri, and I worked for a different firm there up until I came to Iowa probably 2 to 3 years ago. So started out in 2015, and then it was a firm where there was a lot of travel involved in the audit practice, which was good. I mean, that's what I wanted to do right out of college, and then finally settled down and now here in Des Moines.
yeah. So you mentioned audit practice, and that's an important distinction to make as we continue to talk. If you're working in public accounting, there's typically 2 different types of jobs. There's more than 2, right? But there's 2 traditional paths, and one is audit and one is tax. So if you have those interests, I suggest that you explore, dig a little deeper. And I think some of you have answered this question, but you maybe elaborate on it. What made you decide to major in accounting, and what do you feel are the benefits of an accounting degree?
So like I said, I kind of picked accounting because the medical school route wasn't for me. It was kind of a good, not backup option, but something I had an interest in. I had worked for a smaller firm as a construction company, like doing their books. So like that gave me a good insight to seeing business in like the smaller sense. And I really got an interest in like seeing how numbers work, trying to flow through all the way from start to finish. And I felt like accounting allowed me to get that deeper understanding of how businesses truly work from the internal side of it. And from a benefit side of it, like you really get to know the true details of a business. Like it's one thing to be in finance and just understand like investment strategy and that sort of thing of a company, but from an accounting perspective, you truly have to understand all the implications of all the decisions that a business makes. And I think it's truly beneficial to have that knowledge in college, to go through those courses and get that understanding.
Learn the language, right?
Exactly.
Accounting is the language of business. I say that once in a while, and my students roll their eyes at me, but it's certainly true, especially to listen to you explain that. Now, I know you work in the audit practice of Ernst & Young.
Yep.
Do you have a specialty yet? I know you're still relatively early in your career, but does healthcare happen to?
Actually, no. So I'm
Specialty
mostly in
or area of
the life
interest?
insurance sector is mostly
Okay.
where I work at. So, but actually focusing within life insurance investments is what I'm practicing in.
Perfect. I just wondered if there was an opportunity to kind of combine your interest in medicine and accounting.
Yeah. There are
Maybe
we have
someday.
a few
You're
clients out there. Yeah. For
Very
sure.
young. Lots of career opportunities ahead of you for sure.
Absolutely.
Amina, do you remember the question?
I do. And
Okay.
like I said, I mentioned earlier, it was my advisor in college that kind of pushed me towards accounting. But although accounting was never my interest earlier in high school or even very beginning of college, I did always like numbers. I was actually doing bookkeeping for a family friend when I was in high school. And like I said, I really like the numbers and everything balancing. So I did like it, just never thought I would actually make it a career. But I mean, the benefits are within accounting, you know, you can do audit, you can do financial reporting, you can do fraud, you can do IT technical accounting, which I actually do a lot of technical accounting here, and with also working with IT and new systems. So, I mean, there's so many areas which you can also, especially earlier in your career, which you can explore and jump from one to another, and nobody's really going to judge you from like changing those areas, especially in the beginning. So you can explore and then kind of decide, you know, what works for you, what you like, what you enjoy.
That's perfect because, you know, and I made the mistake of doing it just now, just saying that there's two areas, audit and tax. I mean, that's a
Right.
broad generalization. There are so many other opportunities that a major in accounting and certainly the CPA open the doors to. So thank you for hitting on that. I do want to ask you a quick question because this is something I hear a lot from my students as they're coming in, not the ones that have declared an accounting major, but just general business students. They say, oh, I'm terrible at math. And I say, here's my trusty calculator.
Actually, I'm not that great at math, to be honest.
All you have to do is add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Do you agree or disagree
I
with
like
that?
Excel, and I like I said, the technical part of it, everything, especially today in today's world, everything is software and systems and calculators, not so much actually anymore, but you don't even have to be great at math necessarily.
Right, but be able to interpret, right?
Yes,
and be
exactly.
strategic about the answers and what the
Strategic
numbers
and
are telling you.
analyzing and stuff like that. Yeah.
Analyzing, absolutely, absolutely. So no calculus here. Otherwise, I would not be here.
I wouldn't worry
No
about that part
calculus.
if you want to go into accounting.
Awesome, thank you. Sarah, do you remember the question?
Yep.
Okay.
So in addition to taking business and accounting courses in high school, I also have a business background. My parents have a farm equipment repair business on our yard. So I grew up working with the customers and helping mom in the office and answering the phone calls. So I knew I liked the business side of things. And then the accounting really came with my advisor at Buena Vista University. She was just super enthusiastic and our personalities meshed well. And I just knew that was the route I wanted to head. And kind of to reiterate everything else you've already said, I think accounting is beneficial because there are just so many opportunities. Basically, every business needs some type of accountant. So you have lots of different options, lots of opportunities with the degree.
That's great. Jose?
I'll go from a different stance because one misconception that I think that accounting is known for is antisocial. And I'll tell you kind of my background of how I got to accounting is I went into it first thinking I wanted to do financial analyst, and then I ended up switching to actuarial science. Well, I realized that actuarial science had absolutely no socialization at all. So I then ended up mixing the two of them, and I went into accounting. In accounting, the group of people that you're surrounded with are actually majority of the time what you consider business people, which most of them socialize and everything. So on my side, that's how I ended up getting into accounting, was through the path of finding what I really wanted, which was a mix of both math, because I always enjoyed math, business, and that social aspect of it still, which accounting surprisingly does provide, especially like in the assurance and internal and tax and everything. You're always talking with people, though it's thought of as, just doing numbers, but that's not the case. So
I love it. This is my mission in life, to break the stereotype. So I think you hit that exactly nail on the head. That is the stereotype that we're trying to break, right?
Yep.
Maybe threw the actuaries under the bus just a little bit. I'm sure they have their own set of
and maybe that was just my
stereotypes.
experience, but
we're trying to be social.
right.
Well, that's to prove we have some people that are good at math, such as Jose, and then not so good people, like me.
Right. Absolutely.
we have a mix.
Absolutely. And what I hear you say, maybe not so much Jose, but the other three of you, you really made a connection with someone, right? That kind of helped And
Mhm.
Jose, maybe you can go back and talk to that about how you kind of picked the accounting piece. But what I've really heard you say is, it was a person, it was a connection that you made with somebody in the industry or somebody at school that kind of
Yeah.
helped guide you and pull you along. So I just want to stress the importance of that for our students that are watching. Make sure that you find someone to connect with, that you can ask questions to, that you find a mentor very early in your junior high career, in your high school career, and hopefully it's an accountant so they can kind of steer you down this path. Jose, did you have anybody in particular that you kind of relied on?
Yeah, actually it was a high school teacher that kind of led me into the finance aspect of it, knowing that, I like the business portion of it, but that's what I thought of when I was in high school. It was always general, somewhat business, math, accounting, all that general stuff, up until I also then took time to figure out what is that I really enjoyed. But if it wasn't for her, like I said, I liked hands-on things, and this is definitely not hands-on. It is more mind and everything, but it gets it's something that she definitely pushed on for me to follow that path. So
I think the hands-on piece is the puzzle, right? It's the storytelling. So I think you're not doing construction work. You don't have a hammer in your hand, but I certainly do think that you're building something of extreme importance as you're doing work for businesses. I'm just going to interject a little bit here. My story, I was a finance major. I tell my students all the time that I saw the light kind of later in my career, probably similar to Jose, and got my master's in accountancy. I always wanted to be a teacher, and my parents said absolutely not because they were both educators. And then I had this really great high school accounting teacher. So I said, okay, if you're not going to let me be a teacher, let me study accounting. And they said, heck no, do something other than accounting and business. So now, down the road, later in my life, I finally had the opportunity to prove them wrong. And that's, I tell them all the time, they're the reason that I'm teaching accounting because you said no.
Both.
So there's always opportunities to change and switch your path, especially if you have good credentials to start with.
One thing that I'll echo off that, Denny, is what we've come to realize too in our profession is we're seeing a lot of people that join accounting, even though they came in with majors of sociology or something else, and then they end up getting their master's in accounting or something, or business or something similar, because they realize that that's something that they enjoy or they like. So that's always an open thing too, that you don't, just because that's what you majored on, that's not the main thing that you can follow.
Absolutely. And you certainly don't have to pick that in college, and you certainly don't have to pick that in high school, right? As long as we're open to a variety of possibilities. Thanks for that. That's great. Explain the importance of the CPA certification to your career. And Sasha, I know you're going to have a little different perspective on this than the rest of us. Tell me, I guess, why you're in the process. Tell me kind of the process that you're going through with your end goal and what the expectations are when you pass.
Yep. So CPA and public accounting really allows you to have that ownership factor. You really can take charge of an audit, like you can be the lead of an audit. It really gives you all that quote unquote power to be a leader on a team. So that's something that I truly see myself in. I want to be a leader. I like to be a leader. It's one of the things I do at my firm, is try to teach and coach as much as I can to our interns and new hires. And that CPA allows you basically to allow to do those things, but with the client side of it as well. So not only with your internal teams, but also with your clients, and knowing that you're going to produce a good and effective quality audit. So like I would say the biggest thing of the CPA for our career is, in order to move forward with the company, if you want to become a manager, senior manager, eventually partner someday, it is a requirement eventually that it does get to that level that you just need to have it. And I truly enjoy what I do. I truly enjoy the people that I work with, and the CPA is one of those things that I'm still going to get it done in order to have the life and the work style that I want to have.
That's great. And just to provide a little more information, it is 4 parts. There's 4 parts to the CPA exam as of September of 2021. We'll see how long this video stays around. There are some pretty significant changes coming to the exam, but at the current time that there's 4 parts, so you're studying hard, and I'm confident that you will do great as you start kind of working your way through those.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, so to add on to that, I guess one aspect, in the importance of being a CPA is, if you want to move up in your career at some point, it will be required for certain positions. But for me, not only that, it's like kind of like another level of respect. Same like an attorney has to, go through the bar exam and stuff like that. It's the ethics part of it. People do trust you more as a CPA just because, like I said, because of the ethics and, the hard work. I think it's also employers knowing that the discipline you have to have in order to pass the CPA exam and just kind of stay on track and get that done and get certified. It's not necessarily, in my personal opinion, like an accountant and a CPA, yes, we have like another level of certification, but like the knowledge before you even start working, it's almost the same. You gain your knowledge through work experience, but it's, like I said, it's that discipline that the employers are looking for, that you went above and beyond.
Absolutely. I love that. You've demonstrated your willingness to learn and your commitment to just accomplishing.
Not necessarily that we know more
Yes.
right away than like an accountant that's not certified. We probably do not know more. Like I said, it's a discipline, and later in life through work, of course, you gain more experience.
Right. And it's interesting to hear you say that that's the indication that it's giving employers. I mean, I think it's hard when you're stuck in the middle of it to understand kind of what it's demonstrating, not only in the short run, but throughout your career, because it is a certification that you can take with you, right? You don't lose it unless you do something completely unethical.
I mean, to me, that's the meaning of it. And like I said, like, for example, if you have two candidates for a job and their resume is essentially like the same experience and everything, and one is a CPA and one is a non-CPA, they will probably go ahead with the CPA, even though the resume is essentially the same.
Right. That distinction that comes along with the certification. That's perfect. Sarah?
I would agree with everything that's already been said. Basically, the CPA certification really just helps you advance and continue to grow in your career. And it's also something that no matter where your career path goes, it's going to add value.
Perfect. Add value. I love it. Garcia, or I'm sorry, Mr. Garcia.
Yep,
Jose.
Yeah. One thing that I'll say too is it's one of the best achievements you can do. After you're done with all four parts, it is such a relief that it's almost a goal that you want to, once you accomplish it, it just feels good to get it done. So I would echo that. The other thing too is I'll put a scenario is think of buying two products. You're buying a product with a name brand versus a product that doesn't have a name brand. That's the difference that a lot of people see. So certain employers like Amina said is that they'll go with it just because you have your CPA. And not only does it provide that, I don't know, that selling power of it, but also you gain some expertise, you gain some more knowledge, you learn ways of studying or teaching yourself things and researching and all of it. So there's a lot of parts to it that go into it. And there's definitely, like it was said, a dedication portion to it that if you don't have it, it's hard to get through it. So
I like your product example. I like your product example a lot. I have two high school boys, and they convinced me that they have to have the Nike swoosh on their basketball shoes or their golf shoes, right, to perform at their best. So it's the equivalent, right? Anybody that has to wear Nikes or has to wear the name brands, you might as well make sure you're employing a CPA. I like that a lot. Tell me about the coolest part of your job.
I think the coolest part for me is kind of similar to what Jose said. Accountants tend to have the bad rap of that we're not social people, but my job is very team-based. Even though I've been working virtually like the majority of my career, like I spend most of my time talking to people, whether it's on the phone, via video chat, over message, occasionally we still send emails, because that's just part of the job. But it really is cool the number of people you get to meet and work with. We have divisions that are people in India, in Mexico, and all over the place that we get to work with on a daily basis. And getting that kind of experience and exposure to people from all over the place is just a really cool experience. And even though we can't physically travel as many of us used to do in public accounting, this is still a next step or close equivalent for us to get to meet people, get to see their sites, where they work, all that kind of thing.
And all from the comforts of home in Iowa.
Exactly.
I mean, it doesn't get better than that.
Yep. And you can do it in your pajamas if you really want to.
So for me, personally, I love interacting with different departments, different divisions and stuff like that. So currently, I actually don't even do like the traditional accounting that you might know of, like the number crunching and stuff like that. So like I said, I do internal system implementations. So I have to talk to different departments, different divisions, kind of what their needs are. So I really actually like that part and making presentations and presenting my case and presenting my projects. When we have acquisitions, let's say, of other companies, we just acquired a company in Puerto Rico. So then, we have to kind of set all that up, talk to the staff there. So really, to me, that I enjoy that personally.
That's amazing.
I
Sarah?
think the coolest part about my job is just getting to work with all kinds of different clients on all kinds of different projects. I'm a little bit different. I work for a smaller public accounting firm, so I get to do both audit and tax, which means I get to work with everyone and on all kinds
The
of different
whole picture,
Exactly.
full
I think-
cycle.
Yeah. So I think just working with the clients is my favorite part. It's definitely social. There's lots of interaction, like everyone else has mentioned, lots of teamwork.
That's great.
Yeah, I think they hit it on the nail. The biggest part is the socialization of it. There's so many events that that you can always join. Depending on, even if you're in tax or if you're in accounting or just private accounting, you're always dealing with the team. So it helps you socialize. It helps you obtain knowledge from other people. For myself personally, one of the biggest things that I like is I'm always learning something. I can guarantee if you give me a day and ask me what I learned today, I can name off a thing. Because I don't think there's been a day where I haven't learned a single thing.
Occasionally
It's
a little
always-
humbling, isn't it? Like
Oh,
I
absolutely.
thought I
Yeah.
knew some stuff, and then today I learned I know nothing.
Yeah. You only know something until someone else comes in after you. Then you're like, oh, I
That's
actually
right.
know that. I'll teach you that one. And then there's someone always above you who knows more. So, and that's a good thing though. So it keeps you humble and it keeps you growing. So
That's perfect. I think we have fully answered my last question, so I kind of came up with another one on the fly. I will just read what my last question is so we can make sure that we just discuss what the misconception is. When talking to others, what do you feel are the most common misconceptions about being an accountant? And I think we already talked about that, right? Like you have to work by yourself, you're in a pile of paperwork. It's not very social. And I think we did a good job over the last 37 minutes, making sure that that stereotype is somewhat broken. Is there anything else? The complex math, that's the one that I hear quite a bit in the classroom. Is there anything else other than not being social and the math, the misconceptions that you think we need to break?
I have one. And which one
Okay.
is you made me think of it, which was the pile of papers. Right now we're so technology based that we work with so many different programs and softwares, learning new tricks. I realized how much I didn't know in college and high school about computers and technology up until I took my first professional job. And learning it is a great benefit, not only just for work, but then also learning it outside of work. So
That's great. And that's really been a challenge for me in the classroom is given our curriculum, and this is probably true in any accounting course across the country, certainly in Iowa, you have to focus so much on the technical aspect of your debits and your credits and the balance sheet and the accounting equation. And, if you're in managerial accounting, all those costs, fixed costs, variable costs, and overhead, we spend so much time on that technical aspect, kind of trying to lay that foundation that a lot of these opportunities to learn how the technology works kind of get missed, so if someone is in their first couple of accounting classes and they're like, oh my gosh, not another debit, not another credit.
Right.
Like, I just want to give you light. I want to give you hope that
Yeah.
all you're doing is laying the foundation.
Yeah.
You may do a couple debits and credits here throughout your career, but you will not spend an entire career just doing debits and credits.
And
There's
that's
so much more to it
at
than
the
that.
very beginning. Also, I second the technology for sure, just because I work into technology so much right now, and it's really all about technology and in audit and everywhere. And then in addition, I guess down the road in your career, I personally love leadership and, leading a team and stuff like that. So if that's something, everybody mentioned teamwork, you got to work with a team. You're going to be a manager at one point, or even if you're not a manager, you're always going to have a team. But I personally love the leadership part of it and mentoring the staff and stuff like that. So there's also that people might enjoy as well.
That's
And
perfect.
we're definitely not antisocial. Like, I second Jose 100% on that because I definitely don't have a accountant personality or the perceived accountant personality. And when I tell people I'm a CPA, they're like, really?
Shocked.
So, yeah.
Then we're the right group. We're the right group on
Yeah.
this call. Sarah, Sasha, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I can kind of piggyback off that. I think the last thing too is with that, we don't sit in Excel all day. Like some of us might, but like we truly do not sit in Excel all day. A lot of our jobs actually, I think, involve a lot of writing. And this is one of those things I wish I paid more attention to some of my writing classes that I took in college. Because so much of our jobs, especially as auditors, is we need to be able to document every single thing that we do and explain why we did it, how we did it, what's management's doing, and like be very clear and concise with that writing. So having those kind of technical skills as well to understand what is good business writing, I think is very, very important as well.
Thank you. That's a great point. Absolutely. Sarah?
I had one other misconception. The one I came up with was that accountants work long hours. And yes, we do work long hours sometimes, but I think it depends a lot on what you're doing. And I work long hours during tax season, but in the summer, I have lots of flexibility, almost never work a Friday. So to say that we always work long hours is definitely not true. And I think it really depends on what area you're in.
Yeah.
And I would have to say that as you have that certification, right, and as you build that experience and kind of have put your time and learned and move into a leadership position, you have more and more ability to kind of create that flexibility.
It can
Those
be,
are
it
all
can be
great
very
points.
flexible. It's like all up to you, kind of how you decide in your schedule, especially later in your career, like how flexible it will be or not. And one thing I didn't mention at the very beginning when we were doing introductions, which kind of goes to the antisocial aspect of it. Fun fact, if you ever meet a CPA that does salsa dancing, well, I do it. So just to prove that we're still not antisocial and we can also dance. So
I love it. I cannot. So that's good that I know one now. I don't know about the rest of you. Are you guys salsa dancers? No.
Not salsa. Not salsa.
Not salsa. It sounds like there's some other dancing going on.
Oh, there's definitely some other dancing that I like, but not salsa.
Not
so
salsa.
see, there's dancers in the group too.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
perfect. So I heard hard math facts, right? Hard math is a misconception. Being, stuck in a cubicle or an office by yourself, surrounded by paper, misconception. What else did we say? That you don't have to write. So writing and communication, that you only use Excel, absolutely not. So if you have interest in computers or other software, think about how you could pair that interest in technology with your interest in accounting. What else did I miss? Any? You guys had some great ones.
There's travel involved. So it's
Travel
not really, like you said,
involved.
not sitting in the office. Yeah.
Yes. Like fun travel if you want it.
Yeah.
Portugal, right? You could have gone down there, I'm sure, to kind of coordinate the acquisition, or maybe not in our world, but what did you say?
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, sorry. All right, we have like 5 minutes left. Advice for students kind of sitting in those classrooms right now, thinking about, wow, this is a lot. I'm a little overwhelmed. How do I even make this decision?
I think at the root of it is don't be afraid to reach out. I know like one of the things we talked about is like accounts are antisocial. We really aren't. We're there to help people. We want to introduce you to what we're doing, like what we're working on, like what our life looks like. So like don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to find that mentor, whether it's middle school, high school, college. Reaching out to some random email inbox at some company, like we're all here to help you. Someone will respond, I guarantee you. But it might not be the same day because sometimes we're a little bit slower, but you will get a response. I do promise that much. And I think just don't be afraid to reach out. I think that's the biggest thing is find that network. I think that's the one commonality that we all 4 or 5 of us had on this call today, was having that common person or someone that's, vouching, advocating for us and helping us along the way.
I would definitely second that. And I know Iowa Society of CPAs, I think they still have a program where you can be like a student affiliate. So definitely reach out to an accountant, a CPA, and have a conversation with them. You can ask them any question you want in accounting, about life, whatever. You can just become an affiliate and talk to them. And then I personally did not take the traditional route of like a CPA or accountant going into public accounting, although I would highly encourage that just because you get more exposure to different types of work and more travel when you're a younger age and earlier in your career. So I would personally recommend that, but definitely it's not like a right or wrong answer.
One other thing I would throw out there is don't be afraid to do internships or to shadow people, because that's really how you find out if that's something you enjoy doing or an area you want to focus on or go into.
I would say the same. The only thing though is like, especially when you're in high school or learning about the classes that you're going to take, don't be afraid to sign up for that business class. It might not sound the most attractive class because of what you hear from friends or anything, but if you're someone that enjoys that aspect, try it out and see if you like it. I think that's the best way you're going to learn whether that's something that you'll go into in the future or not, or whether you even have an interest for it. Like I said, for me, I didn't have any interest for it until I started taking those classes. So don't be afraid to try them, and don't be afraid to ask questions of things that interest you that you didn't really think of taking because of previous experiences that you've had.
I tell all my students, everyone likes money, right? Like,
Right.
we get to talk about money all day long. So why wouldn't you love business? Why wouldn't you love finance? Why wouldn't you love accounting? Because popular topic of conversation in my world, that's for sure. Anybody have last minute comments? I've had a lot of fun. This is truly one of my passions, is to try to break the misconceptions, break the myths, and get young people involved in the industry. So I wholeheartedly appreciate your time today. I know time is valuable, especially in our world. So very cool that we could be together over Zoom and record this for high school and junior high students from across Iowa. I can't thank you enough for your time, and I wish you all the best, especially you. Which way am I going? Sashin? Study hard.
Appreciate it.
We're cheering for you.
Yeah, y'all are.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.